Sometimes the biggest giants are the gentlest giants. But this gentle giant is also a genius giant. While the oceanic manta ray might not be smarter than a 5th grader, it does use its brain in ways that would make other fish extremely sad and jealous if they had any feelings. In fact, it's those feelings that make the manta ray a prime candidate for smartest swimming blanket. But when you're the biggest fish in the pond, you can afford a little self-awareness here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, visit Cassie Michelle on YouTube. And today we're talking about a buccal-pumping pup-sucking histotroph in huge chunks. That sentence will only get grosser when you know what those words mean, but more on that later.
Good job. Good job on the saying that whole thing flawlessly on the first try.
It was definitely the first try.
Yes. Definitely no previous attempts were bungled and then edited out. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks.
So who's this buccal pumper?
We're talking about the giant oceanic manta ray.
Yes. Otherwise known as the self-conscious Selkath, which is this really deep cut to species of Star Wars alien in Knights of the Old Republic. Their faces look exactly like a manta ray. We also call it the focused fish and flappy cheeks.
Would you like to know where it sits in the animal kingdom? Spoiler alert! It's in the kingdom animal.
You know what? I would like to know. For once, why don't you tell us?
Well, since I just said, you know it, you love it, you gotta have it. You're in it. The Kingdom Animalia.
We're gonna get sued by Cold Stone Creamery for sure.
Well, the phylum is Chordata. And
I knew it.
What that means. Say it loudly. Out
Vertebrate.
The window of your car. Yeah. It's in the class Chondrichthyes, which is made up of cartilaginous fish like sharks, skates, and rays.
Initially, when I wrote this down, I automatically put actinopterygii because I was like, it's a fish. I know what this one is. And then I was proven wrong because it's cartilaginous, not bony.
Very true. It is. Not bony. It's in the order Mylobatiformes.
That makes sense. Myliobatiformes?
Yeah, probably. Myliobatiformes include 4 orders of batoids, which is a suborder of rays that look like bats because they have wings. They ain't circular.
True.
They are all the family is Mobulidae.
Mobulidae? Something like that, yeah.
Which is a family made up of the largest species of rays. And then the genus is Mobula, which is also called flying rays because its members like to breach, like jumping out of the water.
I wonder if the eagle ray is in Mobula. It's not the largest or anywhere close to the largest, but it does like to fly.
It's in Mobula. It's not. I'm pretty sure it is. Someone can correct me in the comments below on some website somewhere. The species is Birostris. Mobula birostris. Isn't that great?
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at the family for eagle rays, and it looks like anything in Myliobatidae is technically an eagle ray. So yes, these are all eagle rays. Even the manta ray is an eagle ray. I did not know that.
That's the family. We're in Mobulidae, so it might be different.
No, sorry. Order. The order is oh no, wait, you're right.
Myliobatiformes.
Yeah, so the family is Myliobatidae, is under the order of Myliobatiformes.
Yeah, so different. Close, but not completely.
But no cigar.
Yeah,
at
they
all.
don't get because they can't light it underwater.
Cigars are gross.
Do you have something
I do.
before the description?
I do. There is something that I would like to say or interject here before the description, and that thing is critter groups.
A brief interruption.
Yes, a fun and good interruption. This is the part of the show where I ask you a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? What is the term of venery, or what is the collective noun? And this is our very first stingray of the whole show. So it's a momentous occasion. Let's soak
Technically
it in.
not a stingray, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, sorry. I mean rays, but I could only find the one for stingrays, so we'll go with that.
Okay.
So, Joe, if you saw a group of stingrays, would you say that is A, a fever of stingrays, B, a sift of stingrays, C, a pad of stingrays, or D, a bustle of stingrays?
A what?
A bustle.
Oh, pad works. Sift works. What was the first one again?
Fever.
Fever. All of these things make sense, which means you might have arrived there through some mental work. Fever, because they sting you. Sift, because they can filter feed. Or, and then pad, because they're flat little guys. And then the third one was a shuffle. Or what do you say?
Bustle.
Bustle. But that just sounds like a standard boxed term of venery. A bustle.
It's boxed. It's well packaged. Hit me with your best shot.
I guess I'm going to go with the outlier and say it's a bustle.
Final answer?
Sure.
It's incorrect. The answer was fever. I thought for sure that you would, when you started going through them, that you would pick fever because it's the only one that doesn't really seem like I had a way of arriving there. I usually just
I thought you arrived there because they sting you and you feel like a fever.
I usually just see. I picture in my mind's eye a large group of whatever animal it is, and I think of what words help me, I come to bubble up when I'm looking at it. So when I see in my mind's eye a bunch of stingrays clumped together, like sift, bustle, pad. Those things make sense to me, unless the actual term is so out there that I have to change my answers and find things that are equally out there. So, yeah, the answer is it's a fever of stingrays.
That's a good one because they sting you.
Do you get a fever though?
I don't know. I feel like you feel sick.
Do fevers sting?
Yeah, they sting.
They sting because you can't go out to
make you feel like you have a fever.
They sting because you can't go over to your friend's house or go outside to play when you have a fever.
That's true. Emotional sting. Would you like to know what this thing looks like?
Sure.
Well, Wikipedia says this guy is dorsoventrally flattened, which I suppose means it's flattened along the x-axis. Dorso meaning top and ventral meaning bottom. So it's flat, unlike a flounder, which has its eyes on one side. It's like, nope, that's still technically...
That's
I guess a regular fish, like a reef fish, would be the opposite of dorsoventrally flattened. Like the dory fish is kind of flattened on the y-axis.
I'm trying to visualize this.
Anyway, you know what a ray is flattened like with its flat belly pointing to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, unlike other rays and skates with round pancake bodies, our giant has long wing-like fins, hence the batoid distinction. They're also called... I saw that they were called... Members of the genus were called eagle rays for these winged features, but maybe that's just a nickname, and then there's also another eagle ray, or maybe I just read about eagle rays.
I always thought eagle rays were a very specific species of ray, like they might be the spotted...
But
ones.
I'll tell you one thing. I bet you they have batoid features like these wing-like fins.
They do.
They feature some stark counter shading, which say out loud, out your window, out your car window, what counter shading is. I'll wait. That's correct. It's light on the bottom, dark on top, so that you blend in with the light from above and blend in with from below, and then from above you blend in with the darkness of the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty stark. So they have almost a black color on top and a white color on the ventral side. But Big Ray has white fin tips and 2 white streaks that come from the front of their head and go towards their back. So there's some modeling to break up the pattern. They also have something called cephalic fins, which are those signature appendages that come from the sides of their heads and curve downward and in.
Yeah, they're like mandibles.
Ever seen? Yeah, almost like mandibles, but they're flexible and they can roll up these fins into little torpedoes on the front of their faces. And these quote-unquote horns are what give them the nickname Devil Ray.
I thought a devil ray was something else.
It might also be.
Goodness, we can't land on a consensus with these names.
When they're unrolled, they funnel plankton into their mouths while feeding. That's what they're for.
That makes sense.
So they also have the infamous tail, but like most manta rays, they have no stinger on the end. It's just a nub. I tried to find what they're for. I could not. So maybe they're just for mimicry.
Yeah, because the manta ray really needs to mimic
something smaller,
more dangerous. I don't think it has very much to worry about.
It does have some stuff to worry about, but not much, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, it's called giant. How giant is it? Turns out, whatever you're picturing, it's bigger than that. But there's only one way to be sure, and that's through a fun little segment I like to call Measure Up. Welcome to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal's size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words Measure Up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week, so we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
Great.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Is it A? Oh, well, you have to hear it.
I have to hear what's going on. What's this reverse psychology you're doing on me?
Okay, without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Would you like to hear it again?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so is it A, a finch, B, a squirrel, the infamous squirrel,
Yeah, you put squirrel there a lot.
C, monkey, or D, frog?
Finch is really specific. Squirrel and monkey are obvious choices to have to muddy the waters. And then frog is the one that would be the most alarming. I'm going to go with finch. Final answer.
Final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. The correct answer was squirrel.
What?
That's right.
Oh, boy.
We finally did the squirrel.
Masterful crafting of multiple choice answers.
Yeah, you can hear. This is a red squirrel. I was looking at like gray squirrel sounds, and they are way more like you would recognize them because you've heard them before. But these guys sound like a little bit more like birds, or
it seemed too obvious to be a squirrel.
But that's the case. I have been planning the squirrel for a long time, and I've been putting it in there just to throw you off.
Really?
For the last couple episodes, yeah, I've just been throwing in squirrel so that because I knew squirrels made weird sounds.
What if I'd gotten that right? That would have been so disappointing.
It would have been, but I knew you wouldn't have because I picked a particularly strange sounding squirrel. Or it might be pretty normal for the red squirrel, and I don't usually hear a red squirrel. I'm a gray squirrel kind of guy.
That's good. Don't want to yoke anyone's yak. So.
Are you ready for the length?
Yes. Or width or length, whichever one works.
I wrote there, the wrong there, but they're around 4.5 meters to 15 feet on average. But they can go up to 7 meters or 23 feet. That's a huge dude. It's a big ray.
That's their length or their width?
That's their disc size.
I don't see anything about this that screams disc to me.
So I don't know what this means, but I think it's like this circular body that the fin is on. So like any fish, you have the body and then you have the fin. So disc, I think, means maybe from front to back.
So then what's its wingspan? That's what I want to know.
Bigger, probably.
Okay.
But even if we're talking like just the body, 7 meters, 23 feet, huge. Dang. So, how many manta rays go into the height of a stack of every Finding Nemo DVD sold up to 2006? Here, stacked.
Oh boy. There isn't even a manta ray in that movie.
Yes, there is.
There's Mr. Ray, but he's not a manta ray.
What is he?
He's just some other kind of ray, but he doesn't have the mandible fins. And he's also not the biggest thing ever. He's pretty big. He's bigger than all the little fish, but he would drown that poor little reef in darkness.
The spotted ray is an eagle ray.
Is that what he is? Is spotted ray? All right.
Yeah.
Since up to 2006, you said?
Yeah. So I can only find stats up to 2006, and I'm assuming that the most of the DVD sales come from the first year anyway.
Yeah, it came out in 2003.
Yeah. I don't remember when the DVD was released, but here's a hint. Even though monumentally popular movies like Frozen have come out since Marlin adventured to 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, Finding Nemo remains the highest selling DVD of all time, which I did not know.
Of all time, not just Disney DVD?
All time.
Oh my goodness.
Which I didn't know when I decided to use Finding Nemo DVD stack heights for this.
Wow.
It may also hold that status forever since movies are now released on DVD, Blu-ray, and digitally on day one.
Why? Why this?
It was a monumentally popular thing right at the end of the life of a DVD's exclusivity when it comes to home video.
I guess like Netflix came out in like 2008 or something like that.
But even then, day one, it wouldn't have been on Netflix. It would have been... If it was going to be on Netflix, it would be there at least a month after the DVD release.
DVDs didn't really have that long of a reign. Interesting. Okay, so wow, you could have given me 40 guesses and I wouldn't have told you Finding Nemo as the highest selling DVD of all time.
Well, it's family friendly. It's Pixar, so everyone can enjoy it. It makes sense to me.
I would have gone through a lot of the other Pixar movies before getting to that one.
But stuff made after it was probably the fact that it's released on Blu-ray cuts into those DVD sale numbers. But anyway, You have two variables: the thickness of a DVD.
Well, that one's easy to estimate.
And the number of copies sold up to 2006.
Wait, a DVD or the box?
The DVD itself.
Oh, that's more difficult to estimate.
Would you like me to tell you the thickness of a DVD?
No, I'm going to guess. We're guessing.
Okay.
We might as well guess the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess that 10 million copies were sold. That sounds like a lot. I've never actually looked at the number of DVDs sold
Those
for
are
anything.
Finding Dory numbers. Actually,
really?
don't know what Finding Dory sold. It was probably a lot because it was a sequel, and sequels are successful.
Probably fewer DVDs though. I mean, we know definitely fewer DVDs because Finding Nemo is the king. So I'll say 10 million, and I don't know, 50 DVDs go into a foot. Yeah, so all of those DVDs stacked together would be 200,000 feet. That can't be right. I mean, maybe it can be. Okay, we'll stick with it. 200,000 feet. If you stack them end to end, they would like go well into the
end
exosphere.
To end?
No, sorry, on top of each other.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going with 23 feet?
No, we're going for 15, the average. Sorry.
Oh, 15. Okay, so we're going to say 13,333 manta rays go into this stack of the best movie of all time.
Well, for the first time, you may have overestimated. So the correct answer is 5,249.
Oh, wow. So they only sold... Well, actually, there's so many variables I had to estimate on that I don't know which part is wrong.
The stack would be 24,000 meters or 78,740 feet high. Finding Nemo sold over 40 million copies. And DVDs are 0.6 millimeters thick.
I was so wrong.
You were wrong in a couple different directions, and usually that works in your favor.
Not this time.
Yeah. You severely underestimated the amount of DVDs, but I think did you overestimate by a lot the thickness of a DVD?
Yeah, must have been. I said 50 DVDs go into a foot. There must be a lot more. All right.
Let's talk about weight. This one's a lot simpler. The heaviest rays can be up to 3,000 kilograms or 6,600 pounds. Holy crap. That's a heavy boy. That's a hefty fish.
That's half an elephant.
Yeah. So how many clownfish go into the weight of a giant ray?
Oh, you're really sticking with this Finding Nemo thing, huh?
Yeah. Would you like a hint?
Yeah, sure. Give me a hint. I'm sure this will be very helpful and instructive.
This is probably the most helpful one so far. A clownfish is considerably smaller than a human clown. Even the smallest human clowns are bigger than a clownfish.
Darn you. Wow. Trying to think of what Epcot taught me about the size of a clownfish, which is it taught me by showing me an actual clownfish. I don't know. How much do fish weigh? We're gonna have to get into the ounce zone over here and figure out if an ounce is too much to give to this fish. I'll say half an ounce.
How many grams were in an ounce? Did we figure that out?
We're going to say half an ounce for this clownfish, full-grown clownfish. Because they're like the size of a goldfish, right? Like a decent-sized goldfish.
Goldfish can vary in size a lot.
Like the ones that you win at carnivals.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much that size.
The basic one that costs like...
They might be a little smaller than that.
The ones that like the pet store will pay you to take. That's how inexpensive they are. So what? Half an ounce, which means that there are 32 in a pound, which seems wrong, but we're going to go with it. And this is 6,000 pounds. Or 6,600 pounds. So we're going to go with 211,200. 211,000 clownfish go into the weight of the manta ray.
Once again, overestimating.
Oh boy.
The correct answer is 11,974 clownfish.
No, wait, I underestimated
you underestimated the weight of a... Yeah. A clownfish is about 250 grams. 8 ounces.
Wow, it's
almost
half
9.
a pound. It's a hefty fish.
I guess
didn't realize
bigger than
clownfish were that big.
I thought there were... Maybe I've only seen small ones at Epcot.
Yeah, maybe I've only seen small ones too, but I feel like they're usually like a couple, like maybe 2 inches max. But a half a pound fish, like goodness, it's like a sunfish. Like some small.
It's like it's almost a mola mola, you know?
No.
Are you ready for some fast facts before we get to the major fact?
Yes.
Okay, so the giant manta ray loves the open ocean and the feel of the currents on its cephalic fins. They prefer tropical waters far from land, but they may come further inland sometimes. In deep ocean, deep in open water, they pick a direction and swim in a straight line until they find food. That's their strategy, and it works.
Works for me too.
You just walk in a line until you find a buffet.
I just make a beeline to my kitchen.
As with many open ocean creatures, we don't have a complete knowledge of their behavior and habits. It was once thought that zooplankton made up like the largest part of their diet, and it does make up a significant amount of their diet, but they found that it's something else. When they find food, they swim around it to corral it into a cluster, and then they go through it to filter feed. However, it was later discovered that as much as 73% of their diet is from deep water fish. So these guys actually dive down into the deep zone of the ocean. Like some sharks, manta rays give birth to live young. Fertilized eggs develop and hatch in the female's oviduct. The hatched pups in the oviduct receive nutrients from milky uterine secretions called histotroph.
Go on.
So we're getting into the thing we talked about at the top of the episode.
Histotroph.
Yeah, it's uterine milk. Unlike mammals that also give birth to live young, rays don't have a placenta, so babies aren't hooked into the mother's life support systems, so they need to get oxygen through other means, and they buccal pump. Do you remember what that is?
Yeah, like the snakehead uses that to breathe air, and to suck prey into its mouth.
It's like using your cheeks and suction to force oxygen in through the gills. So
nice.
Pups are born at around 20 pounds with a disc size of more than 4 feet. So they come out looking pretty much like an adult, but smaller.
But bigger than most other rays.
Yeah, bigger than human babies. The giant manta ray is so big that it has very few natural predators, except for some sharks and cetaceans, including our friend the orca. So
you can't get anything past the orca.
Yeah, so it's not so big that it's not like so big like blue whale size. That's true. If a blue whale can be attacked and eaten by a pod of orcas, then
really nothing's off the menu.
Nothing's off the menu.
Not even other orcas.
I don't know. I can't. Is that true?
Well, they'll kill each
but
other.
Will they eat? I
don't think they eat each other.
That's all I got.
All right, so it's time for the major fact. You're thinking, I know what a manta ray is. What could you possibly teach me about a manta ray, Carlos? Well, here's something you may not have known. So when you think of intelligent animals, you don't usually think about fish. I don't, and most people don't. You probably think of dogs or bears or birds or elephants, primates, octopuses, dolphins. Those are the smart ones, but not fish.
Velociraptors in Jurassic Park 3.
Or just Jurassic Park in general. They're smart. But in fact, a lot of people who have a problem with eating animals don't really have a problem with fish. Because fish are stupid and ugly, right? That just forget about them, right?
Not
you can just eat
like
them.
reef fish.
Have you seen a parrotfish? It's got some pretty colors, but its face is just And it's interesting, I guess we rate animals that we can kill as humans are, the first ones that you cannot kill are cute ones. And then the second ones that you cannot kill
smart ones.
Are smart ones.
Except for pigs somehow flew under the radar and still get eaten somehow. Because they're both smart and intelligent.
Well, you mean cute and intelligent?
Oh yeah, cute and intelligent.
But we don't eat the cute ones. We eat the ugly ones.
Well, we wait till the cute ones become ugly ones by giving them food that makes
I
them
mean, even those
big
those
chonkers. But even big
those little-
chonkers can be pretty
We
cute.
don't eat those teacup pigs.
Okay, so if we're going to
no.
talk about this, there's no such thing as a teacup pig. They're malnourished
It's not
pigs.
especially bred.
No, well, that is, and they do it by
It's not
not,
like
giving them enough food. And then you take
It's
it
not
into
like
your
the
home and give it a
Shetland pony
normal-
of pigs.
Like people, no, it isn't. Like people buy a teacup pig and then feed it a normal diet, and then they become regular huge pigs. And they're like, what the heck?
You sold me a regular pig.
I didn't buy this porker. I wanted something little and cute.
He weighs
Now it's-
400 pounds
It's
now.
big and cute. And his hooves are puncturing my leather couch.
You didn't tell me I couldn't feed him exclusively Klondike bars.
Yeah, I didn't know
You
he
can
was
only
full
feed-
Cliff Bar diet.
You can only feed him sprigs of basil, and that'll keep him teacup sized.
Don't buy teacup pigs.
Because you haven't bought a teacup pig. You've bought a regular pig that just needs a sandwich. But so, while pescatarians think that fish are dumb and ugly and deserve to be eaten, everybody loves raiment. I don't want to yoke anybody's yak, so I can't speak for the ugly part, but the manta ray is one fish that doesn't fall into the dumb category. They actually have the largest brains of any fish, even proportional to their size. So obviously they're like some of the biggest fish, with the whale shark being one of the only fish that size them.
Outbig them.
Yeah, they big a lot better than them. They're better biggers. But the whale shark's brain is not is smaller than the manta's and substantially smaller in proportion to its body size.
Literally smaller. Wow.
Actually smaller. Yeah, they have the actual largest brains of any fish. And there's a pretty strong correlation between brain size and proportional to body size. You know, they say that the Tyrannosaurus Rex had the brain the size of a walnut, but that's proportional to its size.
So a squirrel with a brain the size of a walnut would be pretty good.
Would be like it would be a brainiac for sure.
And that's just to indicate the amount of like energy reserves that it's going to your brain, right? So it's like if a lot of your energy is sustaining your brain, that must mean your brain's important and thinking's important.
Yeah, and you have more neurons in your brain, and yeah, so like clearly your body as a whole is devoting a substantial amount of resources to your brain, more than just keeping you alive and acting on instinct. That's what's great for us humans. We have very big brains compared to our bodies. So for the manta ray, outside of being a social animal, which means it recognizes and interacts with members of its own species in a meaningful way, which is something that fish don't do very often. They're usually just the gaping mouthed, wide-eyed, like, I'm just a force of nature kind of animals. I don't care that anything else is around me. I act on instinct and am here to be a part of the food chain. The manta ray we'll talk later about how they interact with one another. But the manta ray will even go do things like regularly use cleaning stations. So like parts of the ocean, specifically reefs, where cleaner fish will remove parasites. So it regularly comes to the same spot to have parasites removed.
Working at the car wash. It's like that. It's that. What is Shark Tale? He goes to the Shark Tale car wash.
Oh, that's a movie I never ended up seeing. I think it came out like the year after Finding Nemo, and was a flop, if I remember, because of that.
It might have been. I don't know.
Despite having so much Will Smith in it. But the real test of intelligence in an animal is consciousness or self-awareness. So most animals aren't self-aware, which means they can't think of themselves as individual and separate entities within the world around them. Most animals just see them. It's them and everything that's not them. And this is why most animals all their actions are guided by either instinct or just self-preservation, selfishness. This is a tough thing to explain. This test that they use will explain it better. But the point is that they don't see themselves as existing as part of the world. The world revolves around them, and only their consciousness exists. But for the manta ray, they understand that they are part of the world, and so this is a tough thing to prove for a fish, since their habits and gestures and everything are so different than ours, mammals. But one good test that they use is called the mirror self-recognition test, or the MSR test, which basically means they put a mirror in front of an animal for a while, and then they document its behavior compared to when it's not in front of a mirror. So for most animals, when you put a mirror in front of them, they ignore it, treat it like a wall. So this is, most fish, bugs, small mammals. It's no different than a wall. Social animals will usually assume that what they see in the mirror is a different member of their species, and they'll interact in a social way, usually aggressively, because they see this new animal and they're just like, "What are you doing in my territory?" So, like dogs and cats are not self-aware because they will see their reflection and think that there's another dog or cat over there. So they'll bark or hiss or whatever. They don't see it as their own image. But self-aware animals will recognize the image that they see in the mirror as themselves, which is very rare in animals. Apes, for example, like chimpanzees, orangutans, gorillas, they will use a mirror to check their fur in places that they can't see. So that's demonstrating that, okay, I know that this is me, and I know that I can use this to my advantage. Elephants will inspect themselves with their trunk, or they'll interact with places on their body that they could only see through a mirror. So they did one test with an elephant where they put some paint over one of their eyes. And then they put a chemically identical paint over their other eye, but it was invisible. There was no visible pigment to it. And when put in front of a mirror, the elephants would interact with the visible one, not the invisible one. So they could see, like, oh, there's something on my eye. Like, what is that? So that's really rare in animals.
I want to know how they made a chemically identical yet invisible copy of a paint.
Well, so they put a chemical on one over one eye, and then they put that same chemical with a pigment, just like a white colored pigment on the other one. So I guess it's not chemically identical; it's the same chemical, but just with a. So the point is that they can't interact with, like, there's no difference in smell. So that it's only visual, what they see in the mirror. When they did this test with the manta rays, they placed a mirror in the enclosure of 2 rays. And over time, as the scientists observed their behavior, the rays stopped interacting socially with each other and instead spent all of their time in front of the mirror. So they would blow bubbles into the mirror. They would flip over and check their undersides. So this is... One very unique thing about manta rays is that when they meet another manta ray, their white spots on their backs will expand and contract. And this didn't happen when they were looking in the mirror. So that demonstrated that they didn't think that they were looking at another manta ray. They knew that they were looking at themselves. So the conclusion is that mantas have complex brains, and that allows for consciousness that only is seen in a rare selection of animals, and none of which are fish. So they are the smartest fish.
Nice. Smart fish.
You can say that they are Mysterio rays. Ray
Ah.
Mysterios. Yeah, force that one in. But yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
So that's the manta ray, the world's smartest fish. So for you out there in Podcastia, spread your cephalic fins. Practice good oceanic hygiene. And take a good long look at yourself in the mirror of self-awareness, like the manta ray here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey, LDT listeners. Thanks for listening to the end of the episode. For your loyalty, you get a shameless self-promotion from us. If you haven't already, leaving a review on your favorite podcast app can really help us grow. But telling your podcast-loving friends about us is even better. Also, don't forget to send in your Measure Up intros and animal suggestions to ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. As always, thanks, most of all, for listening.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Oh, I forgot to include the fact that they are the only vertebrates that have 6 appendages.
Oh, I'll put it at the end.